Have you ever actually heard a sound travel a massive distance equal to the entire width of the Atlantic Ocean? Or have you ever literally seen the sunset turn a crazy shade of green in the skies of distant continents? How can just a single explosion completely change the Earth's climate for several whole years? This is exactly what we are going to find out from the mind-blowing story of the Krakatoa eruption back in 1883. So on the morning of August 27, 1883, sailors out in the Indian Ocean were just gearing up for a totally normal day, but out of nowhere the sky literally ripped open with a massive roar. That explosion sound actually reached Rodriguez Island, which is a whopping 4,800 kilometers away. Humans had absolutely never heard a sound with that kind of pure power in modern history. This was the fourth and final explosion in a crazy series of violent eruptions that started 2 whole months earlier. For instance, the eruption in May 1883 actually blew open a brand new crater right below the surface of the sea. Plus, the absolute massive pressure inside literally forced the magma to mix with the groundwater out of nowhere, blasting out a runaway surge of steam that absolutely no rock on Earth could ever hold back. This deadly mix between water and magma is scientifically known as a phreatomagmatic eruption. Since the temperature of the magma is well over 1000 degrees Celsius, the very second it hits the seawater, the water instantly vaporizes and completely expands its volume by 1600 times. So if this goes down in a confined space, it triggers a massive explosion that literally pulverizes all the surrounding rock into superfine dust. This eruption completely blasted about 20 cubic kilometers of rock debris and ash straight into the atmosphere. Then, upper air currents carried all this dust all the way up into the stratosphere. That ash literally stayed suspended up there for several whole years, totally blocking out a chunk of the sun's rays. The wild result was a drop in the global average temperature by 1.2 degrees Celsius. But the most mind-blowing phenomena had to be the absolutely wild sunset colors that people over in London and New York witnessed a whole year after the eruption. Those superfine ash particles literally scatter red light with insane intensity while completely soaking up the other colors. Because of that, the sun actually showed up in crazy shades of green or blue right on the horizon, and the moon looked like a dark, intense copper. Plus, this unreal phenomenon completely lasted for 3 whole years. Yet the absolute most devastating impact had to be the massive tsunami waves that totally slammed into the coasts of Java and Sumatra. With every single major explosion, the walls of the volcano crater completely collapsed right under the water, forcing millions of tons of water straight outward. Those waves instantly surged up to a whopping 40 meters high, literally the height of a 10-story building. Then, they rushed inland at the crazy, intense speed of a fast train. These waves absolutely did not care whether it was a small boat, a village, or a massive warship. They completely wiped out more than 160 coastal villages, leaving absolutely nothing behind. That insane tsunami even swept away 3 Dutch ships that were just chilling at anchor in the port of Angers. On top of that, more than 36,000 human lives were lost, and most of them never even saw the wave coming because it literally raced across the entire sea in less than a single hour. And this disaster was absolutely not just about humans, it literally changed the shape of the Earth itself. Before the eruption, Mount Krakatoa was completely made up of 3 craters all connected together. But right after the explosion, a whopping 2/3 of the mountain totally vanished into thin air. The entire peak literally collapsed straight down into the empty magma chamber, creating a massive underwater crater that is 250 meters deep. Plus, an absolute total darkness completely spread across a 150-kilometer radius all around the volcano for 3 straight days. Not even oil lamps or candles were any use at all because that super thick ash was literally clogging up every single opening. People actually had to resort to touching each other's faces just to recognize one another. As for the wild animals, they completely fled in absolute panic toward the shores hours before the waves even hit, like they literally sensed the danger way ahead of time. After a full week of relative calm, scientists actually discovered that Krakatoa Island had completely shrunk into just 3 tiny islands right around the crater. That remaining middle piece was literally a brand new underwater volcano crater that they named Anak Krakatoa, which means the child of Krakatoa. This little child completely started building itself up, slowly but surely, right over the exact same spot of the disaster. 50 years later, scientists actually noticed that Anak Krakatoa was growing at a crazy rate of 13 centimeters every single week. Just imagine if a regular human baby grew that fast, they would literally be taller than a massive skyscraper before even hitting their first birthday. But this baby volcano follows the absolute strict laws of nature. It gently erupts every 2 or 3 years, completely adding a brand new layer of basaltic lava right on top of its cone-shaped body. This repetitive behavior has literally made Anak Krakatoa a totally unique natural laboratory for studying exactly how volcanic mountains are built. Scientists have been tracking every single detail there since the 1980s. For instance, back in 2018, a whole chunk of this baby volcano's side completely collapsed, triggering a small local tsunami that unfortunately took over 400 lives. It was a super harsh reminder that the absolute power of nature hasn't lost any of its edge. So the Krakatoa eruption was absolutely not just some local event over in Indonesia, it literally changed the science of volcanology forever. The super detailed study of its ash completely helped us understand exactly how particles move through the atmosphere. Plus, it totally cleared up the whole mystery behind the volcanic winter phenomenon that went down after even bigger eruptions back in the day. And to this day, that scattered ash trapped deep in the Greenland ice sheet still stands as an absolute witness to the pure power of that distant day. And with that, we completely wrap up the story of the sound that literally traveled halfway across the globe, the tsunami that totally leveled entire villages into pure dust, and the baby volcano born right out of the womb of the disaster itself. If we just step back and look at the absolute precise setup in the timing of the explosions, the sequence of the waves, and the exact measure of the dust up in the atmosphere, we can truly see the insane harmony hidden deep inside the violence of nature. And that is absolutely all the human mind needs to completely realize that this universe is absolutely not just a random accident.